Okay, so an animator from the JOJO'S Bizarre Adventure anime, in particular, I want to say Part 5, Golden Wind, recently came out and was very frustrated and at the same time just bewildered at what happened with him working at the studio and how they did him dirty. Because I'm not gonna lie, when I read this, I'm like, wow. Because I already feel a certain way when, you hear an animator is, working in terrible conditions or they getting low pay. But the way they did this dude, and I believe it's not even just him, quite a few people, is outrageous. And I don't care how much I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or any anime for that matter. I don't feel as though anybody that puts in that amount of work deserves the treatment that was given at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, at the end of his workload. Let's talk about it.
Whether Facebook, Twitter, or the two, make sure to steer clear, cause I'm coming through like...
So in case you haven't heard again, animator for the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime recently spoke out, which is crazy because again, I'm starting to notice more and more animators, people in Japan in general that work under these terrible conditions for creating anime and things of that nature are starting to speak out, which is great because we're never going to see any type of change in the work environment and all of that. I want to say it was not that long ago that we had a couple of animators came out and they're trying to sue one of the companies, which, hey, if they don't speak out and say what's going on, nothing is ever gonna, happen to change things. People are still gonna be working these terrible 80-hour, 100-hour shifts and getting $900 a month for putting in these incredible amount of hours. So, it's a good thing. And this guy spoke out, and honestly, it's kind of heartbreaking to hear of what's going on because it's also, I'm imagining, gonna open a lot of people's eyes in general that want to get into the anime industry in terms of becoming an animator and stuff like that. Because a lot of people, especially when you're younger and you don't really know much about the industry, you have this ideal that like, man, that would be the greatest job in the world. I love drawing or I love creating and things of that nature. But the anime industry has a very dark tone underneath it all. Like what I heard with Madhouse, there was something that happened there. Like there's so many different things where people are hurting themselves, passing out, all sorts of stuff going on beneath it all. So that's why a lot of times I like to appreciate these works of art. Whenever I talk about anime and manga, usually I like to pick a series that I'm really into and I like to point out the best possible qualities. Of course, we're criticizing at the same time because that's what the reviewer slot, the reviewer hat makes you do. But I at the very least always like to appreciate a series because I know how much hard work goes into these manga and anime. I know that it's not a walk in the park. These people slave themselves. They go through nightmarish workloads in order to deliver this stuff to us. So I always gotta say, like, I appreciate, no matter for better or worse, whether it's a series that you hate or love, you always gotta give, your hats off that, hey, I know that they worked hard on this. So when I heard this, and we're gonna read it in a second what went down, I was like, this is disgusting. This is disgusting that they're doing this to, you know what I'm saying? Just imagine. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 was what? I can't remember exactly, but it was like upper 30s. There was a lot of episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't even just 12, which even just 12 episodes alone takes a long time. Like, if you know anything about creating animation, there's thousands upon thousands of drawings that go into every freaking minute. You know what I mean? There's a lot, especially the higher quality anime. You know what? Let's just read and we'll talk some more. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 animation director claims he hasn't been paid. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind animation director Kohei Ashiya wrote a thread on Twitter claiming that he has not been paid for his work on the series despite the final episode airing over 2 months ago. Ashiya wrote that he worked on the show from its first episode and noted, perhaps sarcastically, that he was allowed to participate for free. Wow. Before we continue, I just gotta say, so 2 months out, like, I compared this to when I hear, and don't get me wrong, because it's a whole different level of work, whatever, but like, in the music industry, when you hear something like, Birdman ain't pay Wayne, and stuff like that, that's the vibe I get of this, and I could imagine the frustration, like, yo, I did from episode 1 top to bottom, I worked on this series as the director at that. That's a very big hat. It's not like he was even just a run-of-the-mill animator. He was the director of the show, and this is the treatment he gets. It's been 2 months and he hasn't seen a cent. That's wrong. That's flat out wrong. Just to make sure there are no misunderstandings, Ashiya wrote, I didn't agree to something like, I work as a volunteer. The first episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind premiered in October 2018. Ashiya wrote that there's, quote unquote, no guarantee he will be paid for his contributions, but he survived and will watch for future developments. Ashia ended by saying that he didn't want to hurt the passion and love the staff and cast have for the series and will conclude talking about the matter for now. He expressed his continued love for the franchise. The same love is true for the young creators who will continue to support this industry. The memory of my tweets could prevent their heartbreak. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind was animated by David Production like previous seasons. Ashia is credited as animation director for all the previous seasons as well. The final episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind premiered on July 28th. So this dude, he's credited as director for the previous seasons as well, so he's been on this for a long time. This is freaking insane that he's getting this type of treatment with that amount of dedication, that amount of time that he put into creating this masterpiece. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all the parts look incredible. There's not an episode that you would say, man, this is the most worst thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, David Production, everybody tips their hats off to David Production because they've done an incredible job with bringing the series to life, having a lot of the little manga panels, like so many different things that they do, the sound effects showing up on screen that people love, the color changes, everything that's real creative about it. This guy directed Part 5 from top to bottom and seemingly was credited as director of the other parts and hasn't been paid and it's been 2 months. And he's even getting to the point of being sarcastic about, like, hey, I got to participate for free. And the fact that he made sure to make it clear he was not under the impression and he was not told anything like, oh, you're not going to be, you might not be paid for this. So he was under the impression like, yo, this is a paid job. And again, if he was credited as director of the previous seasons, then that means that he's been paid before. What's stopping them now? What changed? I think there's a possibility maybe JoJo's Bizarre Adventure underperformed last season or this season, so they're trying their best to budget money, but that is absolutely no excuse. And to be honest with you, I'm appalled. I'm appalled at David Production for doing this, because being an animator, like being a manga creator and an animator, are two of some of the toughest jobs I've ever heard of. And that's crazy, because you would think like you're just sitting down writing and drawing all day. What it does to the body, especially your mind, all of that combined for those amount of hours is insane. So to see that this guy worked from top to bottom, part 5, still not paid, what is going on in the industry? And I'm curious, how much longer is the industry going to be able to sustain itself at the rate it's going? Little by little, there's starting to be cracks in the armor. People are starting to speak out. Madhouse employees falling out, getting hurt. There's a union now, if I'm not mistaken. There's a union for these people, because some change needs to come, and eventually it's going to get to the point where, and I don't know if in Japan if they're like what we do over here, if there's even a possibility of these animators going on strike, but I think they should. And don't get me wrong, I love anime, I love it all. I don't want, like, because you know it'll hurt a lot of series coming out or whatever, but I care more about the man that is drawing this, his health, his sanity, all of that stuff. On top of that, the fact of his pockets working thousands of hours over our entertainment. Like, this is unacceptable. Unacceptable, because at the end of the day, that is way too much work. Like, it's one thing if, like, okay, you know, maybe he spotted on one episode or something like that. Yeah, it's still wrong. It's like, but it's nowhere close to working on a whole anime from top to bottom as director at that. He's not even just a run-of-the-mill, like I said. He's the director. That's high up there. And to not receive a cent? He got a family to feed. He got himself to take care of at the very least. You know what I'm saying? Even if he doesn't have a family to feed, he got to take care of himself. He got bills to pay or whatever. All that time that he was working on Golden Wind, he could have been doing something else with his time. He could have been working a different job. He could have probably taken up director or animator at a different studio. David Productions, y'all need to get y'all stuff together. Like, this is not right. This is not cool. That is a lot. That is slave labor. That's slave labor. That's exactly what that is, because he didn't get paid and he worked like probably an animal to bring this greatness. That's why I always gotta say, appreciate what we get, because one day there's a possibility people could be fed up with it and say, nah, we good, and that'll damage the anime industry. All it takes is a couple months of a strike of some sort, damage to the anime industry, because they're already at a point of they have such a shortage of animators, because people are starting to get hit. That's another good thing that's coming from. It sucks that people are getting really messed up out of this, but that's another thing that's coming out of this, is that people are starting to get hit. People are like, what do I look like working like an animal and getting pennies, let alone what this guy is going through? People, young, inspired, or aspiring animators that one day want to work on an anime, you're planning to move to Japan or whatever, just know this is some of the stuff that you could go through. And it's unacceptable. It's not right. It's not cool. This is too much work to not get paid. Way too much work. Like, don't get me wrong, I've done some jobs I ain't get paid on. I'm not gonna sit here and you know what I'm saying, because it wasn't nowhere close to that. I'm not even gonna try and compare, but I've gotten slighted over stuff like that. Whatever, I took it on the cheek, but that, you can't take that on the cheek, because I can only imagine what this man had to do to bring this from episode 1 to the end to life, and not getting a dime. I'm disgusted. Like, David Production, y'all need to make change, especially if y'all gonna do part 6 of JoJo, which that's, I feel so mixed, because that's the one that I'm most excited for. I haven't finished part 5 yet. I'm like, I don't know, a handful of episodes in. I've been planning on marathoning it, but Stone Ocean with Jolene Cujo, I've been dying to see it. I've been dying for it, but I don't know how I feel if going into it, the animators that are working on it are going through this stuff. Like, my entertainment is not more valuable than the lives and the well-being and the financial situations of all these people working on these shows. It just, something needs to happen soon, sooner than later, before people really just start taking it into their own hands and saying screw it, and we got a massive strike, and people just say, yeah, we're done. They're already killing off a lot of aspiring animators. Once people hear these stories like this, they're like, yeah, I'm staying away from that, or I'm gonna do something else. So get your stuff together, David Production. This ain't cool. So that's for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld. And as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life. I ain't gonna lie, my heart ain't even in saying this outro right now, because this is just too much. Have an awesome day, and peace in.
Enjoy the next ride, but I was the best ride. But I hope you know that when